Hello and welcome to Introduction to Logic once again. In this short video, I would like to talk about the certain distinctions between inductive and deductive arguments. So, the most important and the most significant difference between deductive and inductive argument is that in one way, deductive arguments could be from general to particular. And what do you mean by that? So in a deductive argument, usually you can have the structure of the form, all men are mortal, Socrates is man, therefore Socrates is mortal. On the other hand, in the inductive arguments, you will find that the reasoning moves from particular to general. And what do you mean by that? By example, we can see that the statement in the deductive argument, the first premise of the deductive argument, all men are mortal, Socrates is man, therefore Socrates is mortal. The first statement, all men are mortal, is a conclusion of an inductive argument because we have arrived at this general statement based on the observing the individual cases, the particular cases. We have observed that each individual that we know so far, about whom we have been evidence that they have died. So each human being who was born has died. So we are saying that Socrates was mortal, Socrates was a man, Socrates was mortal, Plato was man and Plato was mortal, Alexander was a man and Alexander was mortal, Chandragupta was a man and Chandragupta was mortal, and Chanakya was a man and Chanakya was mortal. And then we come to the very, so on and so forth. We can come to the present millennia where we can say that Pranab Mukherjee was a man, Pranab Mukherjee is mortal. Therefore, all the men that we observed, and definitely human beings that we observed, including males and females, they have been mortal, that they have died. So we can say that all men are mortal, which includes, of course, male, female, and of course, all the genders that we include. So all men are mortal is a conclusion of it's an inductive argument. It's a conclusion of an inductive argument based on the observations of particular instances. And then we have generalized based on that. Now we could be wrong. This is basically, we can say that this is probably a true statement, because so far the instances we have seen, in each case, when someone was a human being, we found that that person died. So we are saying that all men are mortal, and now we are making the claim about past, present, and future that they are all mortal. But one single instance of somebody who is born and remains and does immortal or does not die, like the Man from Earth, the movie where we have a character, the main protagonist, who has been around since the time of the evolution of the human race, or maybe Homo sapiens at least. That is a fictional story, but based on the idea that genetically it is possible that we can become immortal. So now this argument is not, we don't call inductive arguments valid and invalid. We call them that they are either strong or weak. And strong arguments will always have true propositions, and the probability of their conclusion being true will increase. So we talk in terms of degree. So some are weak or strong. On the other hand, comparatively, the deductive arguments are either valid or invalid, where we are saying that the premises absolutely provide the evidence for the conclusion, and that conclusion necessarily follows. If the argument is valid, or we are claiming that the argument is valid, then we are saying that the conclusion necessarily follows from the premises. That is, an argument is valid if the premises are true, then conclusion, it is possible for the conclusion to be false. On the other hand, in the inductive argument, we only say that the true premises make the conclusion more and more probable. So if the premises are true, conclusion becomes more probable true, and hence the argument becomes strong. Now you can always see that it is very difficult to say that there is clear-cut division between inductive and deductive arguments. In the sense that the example I gave about organometer, it's a premise of a deductive argument, but it is in itself a result of inductive generalization. So whereas another crucial distinction is that whereas the deductive arguments are either sound or unsound, and soundness means that not only that argument is valid, that deductive argument is valid, but it is all the premises and conclusion is also true. In any other case, it will be unsound argument, which means that if an argument is invalid, or even if it is valid, if one or more than one of its premises or statements, or at least even one of these statements involved is false, then the whole argument becomes unsound. Inductive argument, in comparison, we call them either cogent or uncogent. So just like in the deductive argument, if all the premises and conclusion are true, then the argument is valid. The deductive argument becomes sound. We call that a sound argument. But in inductive argument, if all the premises are true, that is, argument is strong, and all the premises are true and conclusion is true, then it is more cogent. That is, it is more likely that people would accept that argument. It will be more convincing. However, if any one of the premises if the argument is either weak, or even if it is strong, and if any one of its premises, the argument becomes an uncogent. So the soundness we will discuss in the next lecture.